Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Pro Wrestling Sim series. Another episode here today as we continue learning this relatively new game to us. At the end of the last episode, when we finished up our first year with the wild world of wrestling promotion, thought about several opportunities in front of us. Appreciate the thoughts from viewers, YME943 and Jack Riley Gillick, with some early ideas on what we should consider doing. For the time being, I think we're going to stick with the wild world of wrestling sim. Definitely still more for us to learn. One of these suggestions from YME943 that I did finally do is start spending $1,000 a month on local paper ads and $1,000 a month on a small part-time team. You can see that limits us to 40 popularity, but given that we're less than 19 right now, still plenty of growth potential there. And hopefully the advertising and the marketing with the local ads in the newspaper to whoever still reads hard copies of newspapers today will get us some more audience for our shows. I guess local paper ads still could conceivably be just putting ads on the websites of the local papers as well. So perhaps I should not be so dismissive of that idea. Did a little more research since the last episode, and it does sound like there can be offers that you will get to move to a different promotion. So I think I'm going to want to continue just trying to, I was going to say excel, but we'll say continue trying to improve my performance here with the 3W promotion, and maybe see if at some point I get an opportunity to join something a little bit bigger and more prominent. Clearly, at some point, I could go into the file and just add myself as a booker for another promotion, or I could start a new game back at the beginning with a higher level promotion. Right now, our 3W promotion is a local promotion. So hopefully the next step would be to move up to a regional promotion, and then after that, maybe a cult promotion and a national promotion, and then who knows, maybe at some point we could be dealing with a global promotion like APW, but that is still probably some way down the line. We have made a few changes since the last episode, and probably have some more changes coming. Cadence Chavez, one of the managers for our heels, just increased her price per appearance. So we may be moving on from her or potentially losing her less. We've also brought on a couple new wrestlers into the fold. Rodrigo Schmidt, young featherweight, decent wrestling skill, decent entertainment skill, decent stamina, solid star power. He's a mid-card guy for us, but he does seem at the age of 26 that maybe he has some potential to become a more prominent member of our promotion. Also brought on board Caleb Delgado, a pretty well-rounded wrestler who's going to be a mid-card face for us. He can do just about everything decently, pretty good entertainment rating. So the hope is that we can use him and continue to build up the promotion. Also have a relationship with a new heel at the top of the card, and that's Kyle Howard, a 42-year-old, very well balanced, not necessarily the most entertaining wrestler in the world, but he does everything reasonably well, and the hope is that we can perhaps use him in the coming months as a potential substitute for Garrett Carter, who, as we've talked about, is now looking for $1,000 appearance, and given that his manager is the increasingly expensive Cadence Chavez, we'll be using the two of them less often going forward. Talked a bit about storylines at the end of the last episode, and while I was looking through some different promotions, did kind of notice that most of the storylines that other promotions have going aren't necessarily any more successful in terms of their heat ratings than what I've been doing. The other thing that I have noticed is that in most situations for some of these other promotions, they often only have a couple of wrestlers involved in the storylines. Some of them certainly have more, but I think if you remember back to some of the storylines I was working on, we'd get 7, 8, 9 people going, and I think maybe those storylines were a little too complex. But I certainly think with the heat ratings we've been getting, we're outdoing some of these promotions. So we've pared back storylines, got rid of a couple that we had as of the end of 2021. Still have the Malcolm McKnight, Ricky Babylon, and Samara Lester storyline going. Judah Horn, who joined us last year, and the new addition Kyle Howard. We're going to try to get something going between the two of them, and we've got a match between them today. And then we also have one of our tag teams, Jordan Cunningham and Kaysen Hughes, are going to start chasing our champions, the M&M Boys. Hopefully we'll have a series of matches between them that has some good storylines and some good momentum. Kristen Schwartz involved because she is the manager for Josue Melton. So hopefully we can make some progress there. Backstage morale still outstanding. Caleb Delgado, who we did bring on, is a negative presence backstage. Hopefully we've got so many good presences that that's not going to become an issue for us, but certainly something that we will continue to monitor. And we did start off the month of January 2 weeks ago doing our New Year's Bash on January 1st. 459 was our attendance in Connecticut. The men's championship, the key match there was Ricky Babylon defeating Garrett Carter. We finished up the storyline between them, and then the show ended with Ricky Babylon firing Garrett Carter. What happened in the match was that Cadence Chavez tried to sneak a weapon to Garrett Carter to use to disfigure and injure Ricky Babylon. He ended up winning without getting injured by that weapon, but the final story piece of the angle that's been long involving them was Ricky Babylon in anger following the fight, firing him from the promotion. Obviously, as you saw, he still technically is a potential worker and a member of our promotion, so we could see him going forward, but it's just an acknowledgement that at this point, Garrett Carter, with that $1,000 for appearance fee, is getting somewhat expensive for us to put on the card. And we've got our second show of the month planned today, our big show, 3W Live in January. Mentioned that we have taken out those local paper ads and built a small part-time team, both of which cost $1,000 a month. We have typically been running small profits, so the hope is that we can make some money while improving our production levels with those changes. You can see we're expecting about 800 here. We had sold out a few $500 hauls before we started the advertising, so the hope is that that will help. The issue is that there's really no economies of scale to a bigger room. You may remember that the 500-person rooms that we had previously been renting cost us $2,000. To add an additional 500 people actually cost us $2,800 with the cost of these rooms. Not expecting that we're going to be selling out 1,000-seat rooms yet, but certainly with the potential for over 800 people to attend, we could be, earning close to $12,000, maybe over $12,000 in gate receipts. Obviously, we're going to spend about $5,000 on the room, so that expense is higher. We've got the promotional expenses that I talked about that we're now involved in, and then obviously wages associated with the show, although this one is a relatively bargain show for us for the big show. Going to keep working on some angles. We've got a title matchup between Isabella Baxter and Alani Hernandez. And then the All-Americans are going to face off against Thunder and Lightning. That's Ricky Babylon along with Trace Henson as the All-Americans, Thunder and Lightning, a couple of our key heels in Mark Cannon as well as Malcolm McKnight, and we still do have that angle involving Malcolm McKnight, Samara Lester, and Ricky Babylon still going, so hopefully the match will help us advance that. So expecting a record level of attendance here today for the show, and we'll see if things go well for us. Good promotion between Malcolm McKnight and Samara Lester. Very strong score there. Some were offended by the risque content, but others thought it added a lot. So that will hopefully keep the momentum of that storyline involving the two of them, as well as Ricky Babylon going. Kason Hughes and Jordan Cunningham mentioned that we were starting a storyline involving them pursuing the title of the M&M Boys, Marvin McNeil and Josue Melton. Not a particularly rousing start for that angle. Josue Melton against Rodrigo Schmidt, the two masked wrestlers. Pretty solid match quality of 2.5 stars in the first match of the evening. Isabella Baxter and Alani Hernandez coming out before a championship match between the two of them, and Alani Hernandez successfully retains her title, although the match quality was not particularly strong. Angle involving Judah Horn and Kyle Howard, trying to get that one going. They've got their first match coming up, so this was some promotion of that match. We'll see if we can start building some momentum behind these two relatively new investors, or not investors, these relatively new wrestlers in our promotion. Decent match quality. Kyle Howard gets the victory over Judah Horn. His selling skill raised the match quality, and working with Judah Horn helped everyone learn in this segment. He seems real good at that. YME943 has mentioned that in a previous match that happened as well. Next match, Marvin McNeil and Corey McKee. Marvin McNeil, one of our top wrestlers, gets the victory, although the quality of the match was not great. Keith Yates with a victory over Malik Gillespie. Again, not the highest quality match that we've ever had. Hopefully we'll do better in this upcoming tag team match. Ricky Babylon and Trace Henson with the victory over Mark Cannon and Malcolm McKnight. A lot of momentum for McKnight with that storyline that we've been working on. A decent score here, and now we'll try some interviews and promotions and angles to keep some of the momentum going and or building for these storylines. Very strong reaction to this interview of Ricky Babylon and Trace Henson by Mustafa Johnston. So a nice score there as they were talking about their match. That's really good to see. 6 minutes, reasonably long segment. Pretty good reaction too from the discussion between the M&M Boys and their potential tag team rivals. This was setting up a match in the future between the two of them to hopefully get this storyline going. Last match of the day in the post show, Caleb Delgado, newcomer against Xander Berry. Xander Berry with the W. And last but not least, war of words between Ricky Babylon and Malcolm McKnight. Nolan Bryant, our backstage leader, sets the match between the two of them, and hopefully a singles match between Malcolm McKnight and Ricky Babylon for the title can keep the momentum of that storyline going. Still capped out at 35% based on our production settings, but once again could have gotten into the mid-50s. End the show, and we will see what type of attendance we ultimately got here. Kason Hughes wants a main event request. That is definitely manageable because, as we have been talking about, Kason Hughes' tag team if I can find it here, the Head Knockers, Kason Hughes and Jordan Cunningham are beginning that storyline, pursuing the M&M boys. So will not be hard for us to give Kason Hughes a main event. So we will go ahead and accept that proposal. Summary of 3W Live, 817 tickets, so just over $12,000 in ticket sales, even though the room was more expensive. That will hopefully help us continue to move in a better direction. Probably will sim through several more shows before I check in the next time, maybe, unless something really interesting happens. I'll check in at the end of February after I've run a few more shows. We can see a little bit more what our finances look like. Looking like a big profit for this month, but keep in mind that our marketing expenses and our production expenses, which are now both higher than they've been in the past, haven't been taken out for the month yet. But they will be offset by hopefully some higher merchandise expense, higher merchandise earnings as well. So we've been pretty good, spending only about $2,200 on average on our first two shows. So think that our expenses should be down from where they were in November and December by continued judicious use of the talent. Hopefully we'll continue making some money in the next month and a half or so, increasing the popularity of the promotion. If things go really well, hopefully popularity will be over 20, and maybe we'll have over $100,000 in the bank, doubling where we started a year ago by the end of the month of February. And we have played an additional month and a half or so since we checked in, and fortunately the investments in marketing and additional office space seem to be paying off. You can see we've got a nice strong trajectory in terms of our finances, similar to when we first took the promotion over a little over a year ago. As we kind of hoped, finances looking better in both January and February. Made about $9,000 in January and then about $10,000 in February, even with the bigger investments in marketing and back office. I'd say the main difference between how we've performed is that we are consistently selling out the smaller 500 person shows, and we have found ourselves that for our big monthly live events, we've been able to move to a 1,000-seat arena for those. Haven't sold those out yet, but certainly making enough money to justify the larger space. Still haven't done it for the smaller shows. Most of them look like we're going to get 600 to 650 people at the regular shows each month, and to justify the additional 2,800 expense in moving from a 500 person facility to a 1,000 person facility, we're going to need to put about 700 people in those. So we're getting close to the point where we can probably move up to the larger facility for all our shows, but we are not quite there yet. We have added one important new wrestler into the roster since the last time we checked in, and it's Elias David, super heavyweight who's tall, playing the heel role for us, and we are going to try to use his great intimidation factor to hopefully build some storylines. If you've got 70 intimidation or higher, you can try the monster gimmick, and he is very big and very strong, and we're going to try establishing a storyline with him, going after and hopefully moving through Keith Yates, Marvin McNeil, and Trace Henson, three of the top face wrestlers that we have, on his way to potentially being able to maybe challenge Ricky Babylon for the title. Other than that, we've got really good momentum with the Ricky Babylon, Malcolm McKnight, and Samara Lester storyline, which we will probably be concluding with our matches today. or actually in 3 days at our 3W Live event in March, our big event for the month. And then we'll also have cards later this month in Atlantic City in New Hampshire. And you can see the live event here in March could be our most successful yet, with potential attendance closing in on 850 people. Wages going to be significant. Elias David is going to be introduced and sign his contract at the start of this show, and then ultimately start challenging some of those faces and wrestling one of those faces in Keith Yates before the day is over. Still haven't used Garrett Carter since we had the title match with him back in January, where his manager was trying to injure Ricky Babylon, and Ricky Babylon fired him. Although Elias David is expensive for us at $300 per show, it's a lot less than the $1,000 a show that Garrett Carter's looking for. So we're trying to maybe over time substitute in Elias David for Garrett Carter. Although, as we've learned, if he does well and the storylines go well, presumably that could result in him looking for more money in this pay-for-appearance agreement we have. We're also going to hopefully finish, as I mentioned, the storyline between Malcolm McKnight, Ricky Babylon, and Samara Lester. Ultimately, we're trying to do a face turn with Samara Lester at the end of this show today. She has been a manager for some of our heels for many months now, involved in a relationship with Malcolm McKnight, but that, through some of the other stuff that we have been doing over the past month and a half or so, hopefully is coming to an end. We'll jump into the show here today and sim through it. If you're wondering what's been happening in our other shows, no title changes, although we've pretty much regularly had one or two title matches a show between the men's and women's singles championships and the men's and women's tag team championships. Start off with the contract signing for Elias David. Kirsten Holloway is injured 8 minutes into the match. We'll try to cut to the finish. Small risk to worsen the injury. And Miriam Preston with the victory. Decent match quality. Kirsten Holloway is someone we haven't been using all that often, so don't want to say that I didn't care if she suffered an injury and was out 4 months, but we have probably a bit, although you won't necessarily see that today with this match and another championship match, de-emphasized the women's wrestling a bit over the last several months. Just didn't seem to be putting together a lot of great scores with the matches, although this one was actually decent for us. Elias David sets his challenge. Keith Yates answers. Hopefully we'll have a good match with them going forward. Solid reaction to that angle. Judah Horn, one of the new additions, continues to perform well with Caleb Delgado beating the Damage Squad. Judah Horn, as we've noted, very good at helping people learn their segments, which seems to be an asset to have to the company at this point. Marvin McNeil, easy victory, I'm presuming, over Kason Hughes. McNeil's still one of our top wrestlers. Kason Hughes, more of an up-and-comer at this point. Angle involving Baxter, Banks, Hernandez, and Valdez ahead of their women's tag team championship match. And as usual, Alani Hernandez and Gia Valdez successfully retained their championship, but the match, unfortunately, was a dud. Interview afterwards, though, pretty good reaction to that as we try to keep a smaller storyline involving some of the women wrestlers going. Kyle Howard, another one of our new additions on the heel side, loses to Trace Henson in a well-fought match, 3-star rating, 77% match quality. That's definitely on the high end for us, as is the 60% final score. Elias David now making his debut against Keith Yates, and Elias David wins his first foray into the 3W wrestling promotion, starts getting a popularity boost, and his intimidating presence added to the match. So I think we're going to hopefully have some good bouts going forward. Looks like David and Yates also have incredible chemistry, so they could be two to keep together from time to time in some matches. Getting ready for the title match, good reaction to the promos and the entrances of McKnight, Lester, and Babylon. We've got the opportunity here to handle the Samara Lester turn face. Might not be the worst time after a 92% reaction, but with Ricky Babylon and her being in a promo or interview, I guess more accurately at the end, I think we'll probably get a pretty good reaction there too, so I don't think we need to do it. Would assume that the fight's going to have a much lower score than that. Not bad though, 67%. Ricky Babylon retained the championship. His star power obviously did a lot, even though the match quality was not fantastic. Very strong interview afterwards between Jeffrey Weeks and Ricky Babylon on Malcolm McKnight and Samara Lester. Judah Horn and Kyle Howard, decent reaction to the burgeoning storyline we've got between the two of them, a little bit of popularity improvement for all of them. And then finally, the angle involving Ricky Babylon and Samara Lester. 100% score to that, so I think it was probably good that we've waited. Star power of Ricky Babylon and good looks of Samara Lester helping. And we are going to now handle the character change with Samara Lester. Looks like it was still a failure, despite the strong reaction we felt we had gotten. Could have had a 63 show score overall. Admittedly, primarily due to some of our angles and promotions, more so than the wrestling matches, but that is to some degree the nature of the beast. Go ahead and end the show, see how the attendance ended up at the end, and then we're also going to think about ending that storyline. Kirsten Holloway is hurt. Not out that long, less than a month with a tricep injury, so probably a good thing that we tried to finish the match in relatively short order. Gia Valdez doubling her booking fee. That's not great. Only 788 tickets, although we thought that we could get up around 850. Still a good number of ticket sales for us as we continue trying to move forward. Taking a look at the storylines, 76 heat with the McKnight, Babylon, and Lester story, but we've kind of completed it from our purposes at this point, so we're going to go ahead and end that storyline. Try to keep the others going, Horn and Howard as rivals, the tag team between the Head Knockers and the M&M Boys, tension between Banks and Valdez, and a solid start to Elias David starting to try to work his way through some of the more prominent face wrestlers that we have in the promotion at this point. So with that, kind of a quick update on where we are. Probably going to continue simming through for a while longer. Obviously would love if we can get to the point where we get another job offer, but we're going to continue trying to work and trying to improve the 3W promotion for the time being, hopefully on a path towards moving on to bigger and better things in the not too distant future. And we've simmed ahead another month to the beginning of April at this point. You can see we did 3 shows in the month of April and got 40 ratings on all of those. We did end up making a significant expense in the month of April. We decided to finally pull the trigger and move to low quality staging and lighting, which costs us $10,000 a month going forward, and also had an implementation cost of $10,000. So was it an expensive month for us financially? With an additional $20,000 in expenses, the run rate on that will only be $10,000 going forward. We still just barely made money in April, but ultimately think that improved production associated with the staging and lighting will help us continue to take things to the next level. A little more thought about storylines. I mentioned earlier that most of the AI run storylines had fewer people, which I thought was something to consider. And we've got a storyline we just started, since we are making more money, where despite being thrown out of the promotion by Ricky Babylon several months ago, Garrett Carter will be coming back and likely having a title match in the not too distant future against Babylon. We had both of their managers involved, originally Cadence Chavez and Samara Lester. And even though we just started this storyline before our last show, you can see that every segment of that show that touched Chavez or Lester factored into the score for this, even though the primary angle we did got a 98% rating. So that could be another reason why you want to keep the number of people involved in storylines relatively small, because basically any time that person shows up in a storyline, whether it is associated with the other people in the storyline or not, it's going to impact the rating for the storyline, it appears. So I guess it's not a surprise that it would work that way. Obviously would have loved if there was a little more nuance and you could just kind of bucket things so only storylines involving, only angles involving specifically the people in the storyline impacted the scores, but that's probably a much more tricky programming exercise, and there could be crossover between storylines. So I get that it's kind of take everything that person is involved in, but my hope is with Babylon's very strong entertainment skills and what Carter's brought to the table, that we can get a lot of heat going for this storyline before it ends up going live, likely sometime here in the month of May. So I mentioned with that new production investment, our max score is now a 40%, which is positive. You can see we're up to low quality stage quality from essentially nothing beforehand. The most important news that happened during the month of April, though, was that we got a pop-up saying that our promotion size had increased to regional. We didn't actually get an email on this, but there was like an achievement pop-up that came on the screen and said that we've moved from a local to a regional promotion, and congratulations essentially on that topic. But what I've noted, I talked earlier about how it seemed like there was no economies of scale moving to a larger facility for the shows, given that it cost more. But that's somewhat counteracted by the fact that when we moved from a local to a regional promotion, we now earn $25 a show rather than $15 a show. So I had been, I don't want to say lamenting, but I had noted in previous episodes that I was hoping there was some way to change the pricing. Not any way to do that directly, but by moving up to a regional promotion, we're now getting $25 per ticket, which when we look at our finances is part of the reason why we were able to sell more during the month of April, despite at one point still going back and using a smaller venue than we had in the month of March. So still continue to make some little errors. Doesn't look like for our event list that the events are automatically the normal importance events upgraded to a larger facility. So I need to make sure to go remember to do that when we're in there. But definitely a good step in the right direction that we're now a regional promotion size. That's also what helps encourage me to feel like we've got enough financial stability to start using Garrett Carter again in more shows and more angles, and hopefully keep this momentum that we've built going in the month of May. And before we finish up the episode, one final note. We did release Caleb Delgado from his agreement with us today. As you may remember, he had a negative impact on backstage morale, and he wasn't an important enough member of the team to justify that. So we had slipped down to 88 in morale, getting rid of his pretty negative presence, which was -7 impact, lets us get back to +95. We did end up bringing on a new wrestler to replace him to ensure we have enough faces. Valentino Ballard is a lower mid-card wrestler, so someone who's really just starting out. Only $50 a show, so could have some value for us there. He's a great entertainer. Only an average wrestler, not a lot of stamina, so not really sure exactly how far he's going to advance, but does give us another person who's less expensive and less disruptive than Caleb Delgado was to continue using on the undercard as we hopefully build out some more successful events in May and June. With that, we'll call it an episode. Hopefully made some progress here financially, and also hopefully made some progress understanding how the game works a little better. Appreciate everyone who continues to watch. Always appreciate your thoughts and feedback on things we could do differently, things we could do better, particularly for those of you with more experience of the game. Next time around, we'll hopefully have moved through, another couple of months. Since we are now a regional promotion, I don't feel as desperate as maybe I did to jump to another regional promotion, since we're starting to fill up bigger venues, make more money, and also make some progress as far as our popularity. So I think we'll continue building from the ground up here with the Wild World of Wrestling for the foreseeable future. Obviously, if I ever do get an email asking me to go run a bigger promotion, that's something I'll certainly need to think about. But right now we are making slow but steady progress. I think if we think about what things could look like going forward, probably the next step will be a minor pyrotechnic and special effects budget, or moving up to below average video production and editing. Either of those will cost $10,000 a month going forward, but give us another 5% increase to our max show score. Not something that we need to necessarily do right now, but those are the logical moves for us given the way our finances work. $500,000 a month to hire some writers, even $100,000 a month to improve staging and lighting, $100,000 a month to increase our camera quality, and honestly, even $30,000 a month for better music are just not things that I think are in the cards for the foreseeable future. So I would think that pyrotechnics and better video production and editing probably the next levers that we're looking to press. At some time, we'll need to move towards local TV ads and a small full-time team to move past 40 popularity. But given that as we sit here, we're just barely past 20 popularity with a 21 popularity for the Wild World of Wrestling promotion, we've got plenty of time before we're going to be needing to incur those expenses. Until our next episode, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.